गुड इवनिंग एवरीवन। आपको ऑडिबल है, विजिबल है सबको प्रॉपरली? Yes, okay. So, how's your progress going on? If you could individually tell me how many tests you have written और कैसी परफॉर्मेंस चल रही है और कोई conceptual issue, any sort of doubt that you want to ask me. आकृति, भूमिका, बोनी, यशवंत, जानवी, ज्योति, समर्पित. How many tests have you guys written? आकृति 3 tests. Okay. भूमिका 2 tests. ज्योति. Okay. And others? Boni, Yashwant, how many tests you have written? Linda, Man, and me. Okay. So, guys, Jyoti, time management is an issue. It takes taking a lot of time to write answer as of now. Okay. So, in my first test, I scored 138.5. Oh, but I feel my test was not up to the mark. I confused. How should I evaluate myself? Okay. भूमिका, मैं नोट कर लेता हूँ भूमिका आपका. So in the first test you scored 138 and in second test 137. What do you think? Is it the same person who checked your copy? What do you figure out when you see your copy evaluation, or is it the different person? Different person. So if different people are giving you almost same marks, so Bhumika, please have faith in yourself. You are actually doing good in that case. Because usually we don't give marks. Okay, I think 140 is the highest that we usually give. At max 145. Exceptionally कोई great है तो फिर 150 हो जाता है, which is rare. I think वो हुआ नहीं कभी. Okay, so maybe you're doing really good. Uh, or if possible, you can come down to center also someday, and we can have one-to-one discussion also. You can show me your copy. And yes, this may be the case that in one or two questions, or in three, four question maybe, I don't know, especially if they are 10 mark worth, two, three questions, sometimes you may see that few things are ignored, few things are simply, you know, condoned as okay, when in reality, marks should have been cut for that, since you believe now after writing the test that demand is not truly addressed. This is what you may be feeling, but still you are getting marks. Okay. So this may have happened in one or two cases, but usually if two different people are giving same marks, then you can safely assume that something is there in your write-up or the way you write that appeals to anyone. Since you have written two tests as of yet, at least two more tests if you write, the picture can be more clearer. अच्छा, बाकी लोग, अमर, कितने टेस्ट आपने दिए हैं? जानवी, ज्योति, लिंडा, सिमरन, सहारन, समर्पित. एंड अगर आपका इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चन आल्सो यू कैन आस्क मी फ्रीली. ओके, एनी डाउट, एनी एरिया, कॉन्सेप्चुअल इशू और आंसर राइटिंग का इशू, और एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ इशू, आई मीन इन सोशियोलॉजी स्पेसिफिकली. Sir, I gave three tests, 66 marks, 99 marks. These are my first time writing answers. Okay, fine. So, if you got 66 marks in one test, this simply means yes, okay, ठीक है. So, I was saying basically, uh, I was replying to someone's query. Uh, she got 66 marks in test 1 and 99 marks in test 2. Okay. What I was trying to say on this was that in the first test, you got 66 marks, maybe because you left questions. Okay. Or maybe because the area that were uh, evaluated, in those areas you were not as much comfortable as you are in those areas which are evaluated in test 2. Or maybe what happened maybe is that you did not write up to the mark or according to demand, or you dropped notes. And in test 2, if you are getting 99 marks, again I would not say that this time you worked on quality. I can't say on that anything on that until I see the paper by myself. But what I can definitely say is this time around in test 2, you may have attempted more number of questions. Okay. Quality improvement can't be measured by number of questions in terms of quantity that you attempt or you miss. Quality can only be understood if, firstly, you have addressed the demand of the question. Secondly, if you are consistently getting same marks. Okay, then we can talk about quality. Uh, Better quality specifically, not the other way. Sir, how to write crisp and short points? In the last test, the feedback I got was to write short and crisp points and also to add more example. Um, See, I'll tell you how to write crisp points. Okay, just through some examples. Suppose um, I have to describe secularization. Okay, I have to define this phenomena. Okay, so there can be multiple methods to define this. Fine. If I say it is a process of decline of religious institutions, ideology, and practices, this is secularization. Okay. Here the focus was on what is happening to the institutions or ideology or practices. So that means the focus while defining something should be only on the keywords. Okay. Process is definitely a word which must be there if anything is ization. Okay. You don't have to describe whole soul chain that Brian Wilson in his book defined this process as a process of loss of significance of the religious institutions, beliefs, and practices in modern society at macro and micro level. No, don't go for such kind of long definition. Always whenever you read definition, try to extract the basic keyword and the essence of the definition. So if you are able to deliver the essence with basic keywords, so that means you have already written crisp. Okay, this is so as far as definition is concerned. Now when it comes to body, you can be very crisp in body if you know how to make subheadings. Okay, if you make subheadings, you will be forced. It is more like a force that you have created on your own, on your own. Okay. to pressurize you to write very specific. And if you don't have subheading, you keep writing things, whatever comes to your mind. Okay. And while writing this, you are thinking of the second thing which you are going to write. So it may end up getting very jumbled up. Okay. It is better to always have neat and clean category of thought before you deliver the thought. Okay. And the category of thought can be presented by writing subheadings. And when you write subheadings, always ensure that you are writing in points. If you write in paragraph, you will not be, your answer will not appear crisp if you write in paragraph, and you will notice this also. But the moment you see someone's answer in point format, or if you write some answer in point format, your answer will be relatively precise to you, at least in appearance. I don't know about the quality, but at least in terms of appearance, it will look very uh, crisp and precise. Okay. And these two, if you follow the definitional aspect, keeping essence and keyword in mind, and body, keeping subheading in mind, and points in mind, I think these things are going to help you structure your answer in precise manner. Uh, I don't know to what extent my points helped you, but the essence is something that if you have your own short notes in this format, it will help you more to reproduce like this more and more. Okay. But if your notes are long, exhaustive, detailed, in that case, I will suggest you to utilize this time not just to write the test and to see your performance, but to also utilize this time to keep your short notes ready with yourself. Okay. This will help you in long run, specifically for the upcoming mains. So जो मेहनत आप अभी कर लोगे उतना ही टाइम आप आगे का बचा लोगे. Samarpit, in GS there are clear demand which is visible in the question itself. Like in 20 marker, there are almost 3-4 visible demands. But when I was trying to answer question during recorded classes, I see that 20 marker question looks very simple and their answer feels very short. But you tend to include dimensions related to the master keyword and other peripheral topics which is not directly visible in the question. What are things which should be kept in mind for this issue while writing answers? Uh, Acha, so basically you are saying that when you were trying to answer those questions in the recorded classes on which we are running timer, right? Yeah, I think you're talking about those questions, the live questions which are now recorded, right? So when you were approaching those questions, you are saying, uh, just a second. Huh. So when you are approaching those questions, so you uh, tend to, acha, okay, you the question appears simple to you and the answer also feels very short, but you tend to include dimensions related to the master keyword in other peripheral topics, which is not okay. I think you're talking about contextual statement, maybe, or maybe you're talking about some keywords which are not directly visible in the question. Okay. Um, See, when you approach any question, okay, in any of the class, my idea will always be that I'm not writing notes. I'll resist myself from writing notes. Okay. Not this is not something that I will plan or I want you to plan. This is something that you should keep in mind only once and then let things function automatically. That you don't assume the question is your notes. The question is something else, unless the question is very straightforward. Okay. which usually is not the case all the times. Like this year paper was relatively quite direct. Okay. I will not say easy or difficult. I will just say it was the questions demand were relatively quite direct. For that matter, even last year paper, their demands have been quite direct. The issue is either you sometimes don't have content or you are not delivering the content appropriately. And that is why in these classes, we are focusing on how to deliver that content mainly. Because demand is very much clear to most of the students, but sometimes what happens is they are not delivering the content appropriate enough to the demand. Now, your question is what things we should keep in mind while addressing the demand of question. I think to sum it up, this is what your question is. What are the things which should be kept in mind for this issue while writing answer? Um, if you could ask or if you could rephrase your question, which issues, ताकि मैं थोड़ा specific बता पाऊँ आपको. आपने पूछा what are the things which should be kept in mind for this issue? Which issue? ये सिमरन मैं अभी आता हूँ आपके क्वेश्चन पे भी. एक बार मैं इनका क्वेश्चन देख लेता हूँ समरप्रीत का. For example, there is a question, examine dynamics of pressure groups in multi-party political system. In this question, it seems very simple. Oh, acha. Okay. But how to write 20 mark answer for it? Okay. So, see, firstly, the question was for the viewers, the question was, what is the dynamics of pressure group in multi-party system? This was the question from UPSC, right? So, in this question, what we can see is dynamics of multi-party system or dynamics of pressure group in a multi-party system, right? This was the question. Just a second. Hello. So here, what we must understand is that there is a keyword called as pressure group, and then there is a keyword called as multi-party system. Okay. And then there is a keyword called as dynamics. So you, in order to approach this question, must understand the demand in its totality. And for that, we will have to visualize multi-party system. Exactly what is the meaning of this? And what is the meaning of dynamics of the pressure group in this system? So this question, firstly, as you said, appears to be simple. I will not agree with that. It does not even appear to be simple. Okay. I mean, yes, there are limited words in the question, but the demand is not very clear. And therefore, it does not appear to be simple. But what you must do is to make it appear simple is to break down the components of the question and then think of the paper 2 part specifically. Like if you must have covered the political party and its evolution in Indian society and its dialectics with pressure group in India. So basically, you can approach this question with that content. How the multi-party system that we had initially in the very first year of election, which is 1952, we had multi-party system. That means we had Congress, Jan Sangh, CPI at the same time contesting for the power in 1952 election. Yes, Congress won, definitely, and not just once, many a times. So therefore, although we had competition in multiple part between multiple parties, Congress had decisive dominance. So competition was coexisting with uh, dominance. Okay, this is what Rajni Kothari calls as one party system. But then we see, other than Congress, the ones who are losing to Congress are nothing but like pressure groups only. CPI and Jansangh were like pressure groups, posing challenge to hegemony of Congress. And once 1967, the era 65 onwards, we start understanding politically, we come to know Congress started getting weaker, started breaking down into splinter groups. That means within Congress as a political party, pressure groups started developing as faction politics started taking place. Okay. And from there on, new parties came into power. Okay, which again is making the keeping the system multi-party only, but this time around there are multiple political parties forming within the multi-party system, and therefore the single party dominance is getting weaker. So it is more like an analytical or evolutionary answer which it is going to become as we progress. Okay, the word dynamics must be kept in mind. Dynamics in very simple language is how the things are functioning, how anything, dynamics of aeroplane, how is aeroplane functioning, dynamics of classroom, how classroom functions, dynamics of anything. Okay, it is a word borrowed from physics, biology. Dynamics of human body, how human body functions. Okay, so how pressure group functions in a multi-party system, this is what is asked. And you can also add the role of pressure group in the multi-party system, where you can simply talk about role of pressure group in the very basic political structure of governance, which is they put pressure, advocate policy, and definitely uh, do things like electioneering, or uh, place their people in the cabinet so as to maintain their stronghold. Okay, so those things can be easily mentioned. You can go on giving example about the same. So you can easily have content for this, provided you break the question into parts and understand the demand properly. So dynamic word must be made very clear. And the contest between pressure groups and the multi-party system, which is also a very organic thing, consisting of opposition parties, which are also pressure groups, like pressure groups only, because every opposition party is a pressure group. So this was basically a broad question, not very specific. Okay, ये आपको समझ आ गया समर्पित? ओके सर, ड्यूरिंग आंसर राइटिंग, अच्छा नहीं, पहले मैं उनका देख लेता हूँ क्वेश्चन. Simran sir, since you are not covering every topic in paper 2, what should we refer as an alternative source? Yes. सिमरन देखो, आई विल सजेस्ट यू कि कोई भी चीज रेफर करने से पहले ना बस मुझे टॉपिक बता देना किस चीज के लिए रेफरेंस आपको चाहिए. आई मीन, आई डोंट वांट टू टेल यू रैंडम सोर्सेस. आई वुड इनफैक्ट, because the problem is there is no one source, not just for paper 2, for any subject on planet Earth. Okay, including GS in UPSC. There is no one specific book. Okay. So for areas which I have left in crash course, okay, for example, tribes. Okay, for tribes, you can refer IGNU, very important source, but please refer IGNU keeping PYQ booklet on your table. Don't read IGNU page to page, cover to cover, even for tribe chapter. You should first know what are the questions asked by UPSC so far, which questions are repeatedly asked by UPSC, and which questions are very novel, not often asked, appeared once or twice at max in 30 years. Okay. I mean, you should have a proper log of these things so that you have appropriate division of labor while studying for these things from any source. Okay. I'll suggest you that uh, the topics which I could not cover in paper 2, the source for that will depend purely on the name of that topic. I told you IGNU for tribes, but I can't tell you IGNU for all the topics. Okay. Like for example, we did caste system. Okay. क्रैश कोर्स के अंदर, हालांकि मुझे क्रैश कोर्स में और भी कवर कराना था कास्ट उस टाइम पे, पर जितना भी हमने किया कास्ट, दैट वाज सफिशिएंट, मोर देन सफिशिएंट. अब उसके अलावा कास्ट और कुछ करना नहीं है. ओके. कहीं से भी एक्सेप्ट क्रिटिक के, लाइक क्रिटिक ज्यादा हमने पेपर 2 में डिस्कस, इनफैक्ट 1 में भी हमने क्रिटिक डिस्कस नहीं, क्योंकि इट इज इजियर टू फाइंड क्रिटिक. ओके. द प्रॉब्लम इज difficult to find the proper idea of that given thinker. Okay, that is why I gave more time on that. So अगर आप मुझे टॉपिक बता दोगे, मैं आपको सजेस्ट कर पाऊंगा. और कुछ टॉपिक के लिए आई विल नॉट सजेस्ट एनी सोर्स. इनफैक्ट आई विल सजेस्ट टू राइट sometimes. I'll suggest you to write general also, and you may have seen in some of the test, specifically test 5 maybe, जब भी आप उस पे आओगे, या कुछ कुछ जगहों पे मैं खुद भी बोलता हूँ जनरल लिखो, सिंपल लिखो. ओके. और कभी कभी क्या होता है कि आपने ये भी शायद देखा होगा, कुछ अपने फ्रेंड से भी सुना होगा, कि उनके शुरुआत के अटेम्प्ट में अच्छे नंबर थे, लेकिन अटेम्प्ट बढ़ने पे कम हो गए. एक ये भी ऐसा होता है. ठीक है. वो तब होता है जब हम when we go too specific about few things which are actually general in nature, and they should be left general only. Okay. So इसलिए ना it becomes difficult for me to answer this question about source, क्योंकि एक वो risk, that is, this suggestion is going to be at a risk of you going into the details which are not really required unless you know the PYQs properly and you are smart enough to understand that you don't have to get emotional while reading the things in detail, although howsoever interesting that may sound. Sir, kindly explain relation of social action with factors of strain. Relation of social action? अतुल, थोड़ा क्वेश्चन क्लियर करोगे. सोशल एक्शन और स्ट्रेन का कोई रिश्ता तो नहीं है क्योंकि आपस में. Vijay, sir, I have a doubt. Is this a doubt clearing session? Yes, Vijay, it is your session. You may ask whatever you like. Okay, you can have conceptual doubt, you can have answer writing doubt, or any doubt from sociology. Amar, sir, during my answer writing, I used all things in intro and body, including critics. But nothing is left for conclusion. How to conclude any answer in limited words? Amar, the best answer to this question is whenever you are confused as to how to conclude, read the question once again and paraphrase it. And आपने क्लास में भी देखा होगा शायद, क्रैश कोर्स की क्लास में, कि जब हम कंक्लूड करते हैं कुछ कुछ जगह पर, हर जगह तो नहीं किया हमने भी, कुछ कुछ जहां जहां पे भी हम करते हैं वहां फोकस हमारा होता है सिंप्लिसिटी के ऊपर, कि आपका कंक्लूजन बड़ा सिंपल लगे. शुड रियली अपीयर लाइक फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट फ्रेश कैंडिडेट. Okay. Not over sophisticating things or over complicating things. राइटिंग सिंपल. तो कंक्लूजन लिखने के लिए क्वेश्चन को दोबारा पढ़ना होता है. ठीक है. और क्वेश्चन को दोबारा जब आप पढ़ लोगे तो उसके बाद आपको बस उसको रीफ्रेज या पैराफ्रेज करके लिखना है, जो भी उसकी डिमांड थी. अब वो डिपेंड करेगा क्वेश्चन एग्जैक्टली क्या होगा, तो मैं और आपको स्पेसिफिक बता पाऊंगा. ओके. सो अगर मान लो कि जैसे एग्जांपल के तौर पे देख लेते हैं. क्वेश्चन पूछा है कि द एसेंस ऑफ रिलीजन अकॉर्डिंग टू डरखाइम इज सेम इन बोथ और इज सिमिलर इन बोथ ट्रेडिशनल एंड मॉडर्न सोसाइटी. डिस्क्राइब. Suppose this is the question. The essence of religion, according to Durkheim, is similar in both traditional and modern societies. Describe. Okay. इस क्वेश्चन की डिमांड के बारे में हमें सोचना है पहले. इसेंस वर्ड यहां पे लिखा गया किसका? रिलीजन का. किसकी नजर से? डरखाइम की नजर से. ओके. और वो दिखाना हमें सिमिलर होता है कहां पे? ट्रेडिशनल और मॉडर्न समाज में. तो obviously we will have to talk about the definition of religion firstly, because you can't expect anyone to talk about essence without describing the definition. Okay. Once you have defined religion, after definition you will have to very briefly mention his study of Arunta. Okay. His elementary form of religious life that he actually conducted a study on. Okay. And once you have laid out the elements of his study on Arunta, you can then talk about religion in modern society. Okay. So, first, definition of religion. Second part, religion in the traditional society, which in the case of Durkheim is the study of Arunta. Third, religion in modern society, which you are free to opt for to write any one that you like, which fits into Durkheim's idea of religion, or you can talk about the very basic form of religions, also the mainstream ones. I mean, you can talk about Christianity, Hinduism, or you can also talk about nationalism or Republic Day or things like that. Okay. After writing these three elements, you will write, be it traditional society or modern society, the essence in both remains as follows. First, be it Arunta totemism or be it the Indian nationalism, one thing is for sure, collective beliefs exist in both. Second, collective practices exist in both. They also dance and we stay still for 52 seconds, or we have our own anthem or parades going on. Just like they have some rituals, we have our own rituals. Okay. They have sacredness, conception of sacred. We also believe collectively the flag, the symbol of nation like constitution, the anthem, or many other things to be very sacred. Anything which is identity, which is, symbolic of our national sentiment. And fourth, moral community. There also exist, here also exists. Moral community is a community of believers. So there is a community of believers who are nationalists, who believe in certain idea of nation and who believe in certain objects to be representative of the national sentiment. Just like in Arunta, there is community of believer who believe in the totem of crocodile or eagle or etc. etc. So essence remains the same. These four things are the essence: collective belief, collective practices, सेक्रेट एंड मॉरल कम्युनिटी. ओके. एंड लास्ट में कंक्लूड क्या करोगे? दैट रिलीजन is not about worship of God. Rather, it is a social experience. And humans have similar social experience, be it traditional or modern. तो यहां पे मैंने क्या किया? मैंने एक तरीके से उस डिमांड को थोड़ा सा क्लब करके लास्ट वाले पॉइंट के साथ एक कंक्लूजन दिया. ओके. और ये कंक्लूजन सेम नहीं रहेगा. इफ आई वर टू राइट आंसर tomorrow on the question, again my structure briefly may change or conclusion may also change. तो वो फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी आपको भी रखनी पड़ेगी, बिकॉज यू कांट mug up conclusion or flow of answers. But what you must understand is, if you have great conceptual clarity, it will help you be very specific and not uh, write something which appears fancy but is not relevant. Yes, Simran. The question on same-sex marriage can be written in general fashion easily. Yes. Sir, how to use AGL framework in contemporary times? Um, Atul, what is Parson saying? First, we must understand that. Parson is saying, for survival of any system, कोई भी सिस्टम हो, सिस्टम मतलब कोई भी समाज हो, उसके सर्वाइवल के लिए जरूरी है कि उस समाज के अंदर एक इंस्टीट्यूशन है जो कि गुड्स और सर्विसेज के प्रोडक्शन का ख्याल रखता है. देयर मस्ट बी सम institution in human society which is responsible for production of goods and services, right? That institution is what we call as economy. This takes care of production of goods and services. तो ह्यूमन सोसाइटी और वहां पे इकोनॉमी ना हो, कुछ ऐसा हो नहीं सकता. कोई इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम ना हो किसी तरीके का, ऐसा हो नहीं सकता. ह्यूमंस हैं तो ये जरूर होगा, नहीं तो ह्यूमंस रहेंगे नहीं, रह नहीं पाएंगे, मर जाएंगे. ओके. इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम होना जरूरी होता है. दूसरी चीज जो होनी जरूरी होती है किसी भी समाज में फॉर इट्स सर्वाइवल इज द पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम, राइट? जिसका काम है नॉट प्रोडक्शन ऑफ गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज, बट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ पावर और एलोकेशन ऑफ पावर और एक्सरसाइज ऑफ पावर और मेकिंग गोल्स और प्लान और विजन by exercising the power. Okay, so distribution of power and policy making. फाइन, ऐसे ही उसने बाकी सिस्टम्स के लिए बोला हुआ है. ठीक है. कोई भी सोसाइटी तब चलती है जब उसमें ये ए, ये जी, ये आई और ये एल नाम के जो फंक्शंस हैं या नीड्स हैं उसको पूरा करने के लिए प्रॉपर सिस्टम्स बन रखे हो. इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम अडेप्टेशन फंक्शन पूरा कर रहा है, पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम गोल अटेनिंग फंक्शन पूरा कर रहा है. ओके. अब अगर पूछा जाए कंटेम्प्रेरी सोसाइटी में कितना रेलिवेंट है, किसी भी सोसाइटी में हमेशा रेलिवेंट रहेगा. इवन इन मॉडर्न सोसाइटी वी विल हैव इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम कंसर्न विद प्रोडक्शन ऑफ गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज. ओके. आज की डेट में अगर आप बात करो तो वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट क्लाउड इकोनॉमी, प्लेटफॉर्म इकोनॉमी, गिग इकोनॉमी. ओके. सो वी हैव अवर इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम विच इज अपग्रेडेड नाउ ऑल थैंक्स टू ग्लोबलाइजेशन. कि जैसे जैसे वर्ल्ड ग्लोबलाइज होते जा रहा है वैसे वैसे different kind of employment opportunities are getting generated, and people are definitely finding new kind of jobs or occupations with so called development or advancement of technology. Okay. एआई के आने पर न्यू जॉब्स भी क्रिएट हुई होंगी और लोगों को नई नौकरियां भी मिली होंगी, राइट? Yes, it may have taken away few jobs, but then it is creating new jobs also. Okay. So economic system is functioning, new tools and technology are coming up, it is adapting to that. पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम हमारा यानी जो कानून व्यवस्था है, जो स्टेट है, लॉ है, उसको भी थोड़ा सा अडेप्ट करना पड़ेगा विद द चेंजिंग टेक्नोलॉजी। यानी कि साइबर क्राइम, एआई, इन सब से रिलेटेड कुछ कानून, डीप जो भी होता है वो फेक, उन सब से लड़ने के लिए कुछ लेजिस्लेटिव फ्रेमवर्क लाने पड़ेंगे, ताकि ये डिजिटल अरेस्ट, ये डीप फेक, ये एआई इंड्यूस्ड जो भी इश्यूज हैं वो सब फिक्स हो सके। some policy must be made, okay, and AI can also be integrated in agriculture, in education system, to fulfill certain goals that state has devised for itself. Something like this you can write down, okay. And so is the case with family, religion, and the association or the community, or what we call as judicial system, okay. You can always talk about relevance of each of these. आज भी अगर हमारा इकोनॉमी, पॉलिटी और ये सब आपस में इंटीग्रेट ना करें तो सिस्टम विल कोलैप्स। दैट मीन्स वट एवर चेंज आर इंट्रोड्यूस इन इकोनॉमी, certain changes must be introduced in polity to cope up with those changes in economy. एंड एजुकेशन में भी कुछ बदलाव लाने पड़ेंगे ताकि एआई रिलेटेड कोर्सेज या हाउ एआई इंटीग्रेटेड कोर्सेज को बच्चे अब करिकुलम का हिस्सा मान के उसको पढ़ सके, ओके। एआई के ऊपर ट्रेनिंग आएगी, मशीन लर्निंग के ऊपर ट्रेनिंग की जाएगी, इट विल बिकम हॉट सेलिंग कोर्स इन द फ्यूचर। तो एजुकेशन सिस्टम विल अडेप्ट टू दैट। तो ये सब आपको बेसिक बेसिक चीजें बतानी है। Sir, after seeing model answer and toppers copy, I found that I read too much in my answer, so it took me 4 hours to complete my paper while scoring decent. How tackle this issue? Should we write first 20 marker then all 10 marker questions? Sir, my writing speed is less in general, so what can I do for this? See, you have yourself mentioned that the problem is that you're writing too much, and that is why 4 hours. Okay, try to write less. You will have paper completed in less amount of time. है ना? If you have figured out you're writing too much, so that means you know what is too and what is sufficient. Okay. So you just have to cut down on the two. And writing speed, you can't have both lot of content and writing speed also going parallelly. This does not happen. It is a fact that if you have too much content, even if you have great writing speed, you will end up taking much more than what is required, taking more number of hours than what is required. Okay. So I think if you have less content, which means lesser than what you are writing, and more precise content, not just quantitatively less, but qualitatively more relevant also, you will end up saving time. And what is to be answered first, 10 or 20, it all depends on you. There is no formula for this. Okay. For some people, it works fine that they write 10 marker first and then they switch to 20 mark. For some people, it is the other way around. For the same set of people, sometimes the other approach works much better than the previous approach. Okay. So it is you who is going to discover what is more suitable to you. Okay. Sir, how can I get toppers copy in best answer copy in portal? Atul, toppers copy, I think, did they upload toppers copy for test 1 and 2? If anyone can tell me. In case they have not, I'll ask them to upload the same by tomorrow. Yes, uploaded now. Yeah, so you can check those toppers copy, and you can definitely get good idea from these toppers copy. And we will also be uploading some of the toppers copy from this crash course that you are now part of when this was live. Okay, because we had uh, some of the students who had already cleared, some of them were getting very nice marks, very great marks. One or two individuals from those, you would also see their copies. Okay, they are already selected, but there are some who are going to be selected definitely, because their writing style is such that be it any evaluator, they were always getting same marks, always, almost in the same range. I will not say same marks, but same range definitely was there. You can safely assume, if you are writing for 5 6 papers, or you have written 5 6 papers or tests, and you are getting almost consistent marks, that means same range. So that means you are hitting the right notes. Okay, not right scholars, right notes. Okay, because whatever you are writing is appealing to anyone. Okay, and you have to maintain the same. Sometimes you have to stop uh, learning at one point of time, and for that you need to realize that you have reached that area, that cliff, जो ऊंचाई जिसे कहा जाता है, उसके आगे खतरा है गिरने का बहुत ज्यादा. तो वो क्लिफ का जो पॉइंट है, कभी कभी वो आपको पता होना चाहिए कि आप क्लिफ पे खड़े हो इस वक्त, इस टाइम पे. ओके, आप अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकते हो बहुत चीजों को सीखना, और आप ये भी अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकते हो कि आप कुछ चीजों के साथ कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर लो. एक जो बैलेंस होता है, वो आप तभी कर पाओगे चीजों के बीच में, अगर आप पीवाईक्यूज भी देख रहे हो साथ साथ. ठीक है ना, तब आपको समझ आएगा कि इतना, ये जो क्वेश्चन है उसकी डिमांड ऐसी है. मतलब यू शुड बी वेरी वेल अवेयर ऑफ द डिमांड ऑफ यूपीएससी बाय नाउ फॉर सोशियोलॉजी. Sir, as you say, right, like first attempt, this is my first attempt. After reading my base notes and crash course notes, I am able to attempt PYQ. But I'm having FOMO whether to read Nitin Sangwan, not Singhania, or Topper's notes, because every topper suggests 3 4 sources that they have referred. See, Simran, firstly, you need to understand that you can't refer something just because it has been referred by someone else also. Okay. It can't be a traditional social action. Okay. You will refer something only if you feel there is requirement. Okay. Think like this, that people were becoming IAS when there was no level up IAS. Okay. People were becoming IAS when there was no Nitin Sangwan. Okay. People were still becoming IAS or IPS. Okay. It is not that after reading Sangwan or after joining my course or any course, you are becoming officer. Okay. The sources are already sufficiently available in the market. What is not available in the market is uh, confidence. You can buy the confidence from the market that you know. Okay, this is something that you have to nurture. ये आपको अपने अंदर खुद डेवलप करना पड़ता है, और तब जाके फोमो खत्म होता है. फोमो का कोई शॉट नहीं मिल सकता मार्केट से किसको लगाए और फोमो खत्म हो जाएगा. ये सब ना ग्रेजुअली होता है. कुछ लोगों ने 2 किताबें पढ़ी, कुछ ने 3 पढ़ी, कुछ ने 4 पढ़ी, कुछ ने 5, कुछ ने 10 पढ़ी. डज नॉट मैटर. क्लैरिटी और जो क्वेश्चन की डिमांड है, वो अगर प्रॉपरली एड्रेस हो रही है, ओके, आपकी, तब तो आपको कोई किताब पढ़ने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. बट अगर आपकी क्लैरिटी में इशू है, तब डेफिनेटली आपको किताब पढ़ने की जरूरत पड़ जाएगी. ओके, पर डिपेंड करेगा किस एरिया में इशू है. और मैं आपको ऑनेस्टली बताता हूँ, कोई भी ऐसा एरिया जो हमने जो क्रैश कोर्स में कवर किया होगा या फिर जो टेस्ट में होगा, उसके लिए तो आपको कोई किताब नहीं पढ़नी है, कोई भी. ओके, जो टॉपिक मिस हो गया बस उसके लिए आपको पढ़ना पड़ेगा. बस उसके लिए मैंने आपको पहले ही बोला है, वो टॉपिक आपको मुझे बताना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, तब मैं आपको बोलूंगा. बट कोई किताब कवर टू कवर कोई भी नहीं पढ़ता, चाहे कोई भी टॉपर हो, कवर टू कवर कोई भी इंसान कोई किताब पूरा नहीं पढ़ता है। आई एम नॉट श्योर अबाउट नितिन सांगवान, क्योंकि मैंने नितिन सांगवान की किताब देखी नहीं है कभी, इन द सेंस पढ़ी नहीं है कभी, देखी तो है बट पढ़ी नहीं है, तो आई डोंट नो कवर टू कवर उसको कैसा देखते हैं लोग। बट आई कैन टेल यू वन थिंग कि अ, पढ़ना और लिखना दोनों अलग चीजें होती है। मतलब यू कैन रीड एनीथिंग, बट जब बात राइटिंग की आती है तो वहां पे वो जरूरी नहीं कि वो चीज हेल्प आए। ठीक है। सो अल्टीमेटली कंक्लूजन यही है, फोमो शुड बी नो मोर। ओके। हालांकि मुझे थोड़ा वैसे बोलना था कि फोमो शुड बी नो मोर, बट वो थोड़ा ज्यादा ही वो हो जाता ना, फिर आगे मोर लगाना पड़ा ताकि फोमो जो है वो नोमो करके थोड़ा सा अच्छा साउंड करे। तो फोमो शुड बी नोमो। ओके। वो तब होगा जब आप पीवाईक्यू करके कंप्लीट कर लोगे अपना सिलेबस को, और पीवाईक्यू नहीं किया होगा ना, हमेशा फोमो रहेगा हमेशा। ठीक है। क्योंकि आपको पता नहीं होगा कि ये चीज पढ़नी भी थी कि नहीं, मेरे दोस्त पढ़ रहे तो इसलिए पढ़ लेती हूँ। बट आपका दोस्त कुछ भी पढ़े, बट अगर आपने यूपीएससी क्वेश्चन देख लिए ना, और आपको दिख गया कि आपका दोस्त कुछ ऐसा पढ़ रहा है जो यूपीएससी ने कभी पूछा नहीं, फिर आपको फोमो कभी फील नहीं होएगा। फिर उल्टा आपको लगेगा कि हाँ ठीक है, पढ़ने दो इसको, इसका टाइम वेस्ट होने दो, मजा आ रहा है, कंपटीशन कम हो रहा है। हाँ ये सही बोला आसमान ने, रिलैक्स एंड हैव मोमो। अच्छा, ये बहुत बढ़िया था। सो और कोई डाउट किसी का? नेक्स्ट आपका जो डाउट सेशन होएगा, सेम सेम टाइम सैटरडे को ही रखेंगे, तो फ्राइडे को या सैटरडे को, आई मीन फ्राइडे को मोस्ट प्रोबेबली 6:30 के आसपास ही। ओके। तो आई सी यू गाइस नेक्स्ट फ्राइडे। आप में से अगर किसी को आना भी हो, यहाँ पे आप सेंटर पे भी आ सकते हो, यूजुअली 6 PM के बाद मैं अवेलेबल रहता हूँ। ओके। और जब भी आप आओ कोशिश करो अपनी कॉपीज को साथ में लेके आओ। ठीक है। सो आई सी यू गाइस नेक्स्ट वीक।